Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. Welcome to the Hum Days edition of the Full 100. Today is Wednesday, the 17th of March. And guys, today's topic for conversation is the AstraZeneca drama with the EU. Guys, you've been hearing all of that. It's funny, guys, right? That today, I received my text message from my doctors telling me to book my appointment for a vaccine. I put the show together yesterday, and today I've got the text message from my doctors. So guys, yeah, I'm on the list now, so I think I'll be booking it for next week, and I'll definitely have the cameras with me, guys, when I do that. I put my money where my mouth is, guys. So back to today's show. We're going to delve into, we're going to show you a little bit about the first video is from the UK perspective, and the second video is from an international perspective, because guys, like I always say, it's always smart to get your information from more than one source and make sure the sources are not connected and not related. This is what I do, and this is what I advise anybody to do. So I'm bringing the same principle to this show today. Well, to my programming anyway, but to this show in particular anyway. So you'll get the UK perspective, you'll get the international perspective, and then we'll come back to the UK, and then the last video is going to be answering a lot of those questions for you. So before we get into it, there is one little thing I need to do. I've got a viewer who keeps thinking that I am here in my jumper and shirt and in my boxer shorts. So guys, here it is. I'm not sat here in my boxer shorts, never do. I'm sat here fully clothed. So now that's cleared up, without further ado, guys, let's get down to today's show. Right, so as you've been hearing, a lot of the European countries have paused the AstraZeneca rollout in their nations. Guys, what I will say to you guys is there is a bit of a politics behind all of this madness, because you see, the ordinary person does not care about politics. They don't care about that. All they see is headlines. The ordinary person hears that Belgium, Germany, France have stopped the AstraZeneca. They're living in England. They're going to be asking why. They're going to be asking why, but they're not going to delve into it. Many people don't. And even if they do, they don't understand that. The headline just stays in their mind. So I think the European nations are actually shooting themselves in the foot, because as most of this report is going to show you, with one hand they're pausing it, and then with the other hand they're criticizing AstraZeneca for not increasing supply to the EU, which makes no sense. But is that part of the story? That's not in the headline, so people do not understand that. So guys, let me just let the videos narrate, and then we'll work our way through this drama as we go along. So I'm going to start with my first video, and this is from the UK perspective, guys. Okay, so take a look.
An increasing number of our neighbouring countries in Europe have paused their rollouts of the Oxford AstraZeneca jab, going against advice from the World Health Organization.
Fergus Walsh joins us now live on the programme. Fergus, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. We've just spoken to the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab. It's quite clear the government are coming out quite strongly in defence of this AstraZeneca vaccine. If somebody's watching this morning and they're concerned, maybe they're in for their jab today, what is the advice around this at the moment?
Well, the advice is go and have your jab, because the risk from COVID are so much greater than any potential side effects. Now, all vaccines, all medicines have side effects, but the issue in Europe is this issue about clots, and specifically these thromboembolic events, if I can talk about that, these blood clots that form and then can move around the body, blocking arteries. And the analysis has shown that there's been fewer than 40 of these among 17 million people who've received the jab. And that's actually significantly lower than you'd get in the general population. So to put that another way, you're more likely to be protected from a clot if you have the jab than if you haven't, which begs the question why so many European Union countries have decided to pause. And I think the reason for that is, and they've got history and form on this with the AstraZeneca jab, that they've taken this incredibly cautious approach, which in normal circumstances is fine, but in the midst of a pandemic, it seemed utterly baffling.
Welcome back, guys. So I want to just touch on something on that, from that video. 17 million people have had the doses, have had their first dose or have been injected with the AstraZeneca vaccine. 17 million. Of that, less than 40 have had blood clots. Now, when you think about stuff, yeah, I don't think there's anything 17 million people are gonna do that you're not gonna get more than a good couple of thousand hurt from it. You know, I don't know, if 70 million people fly, don't you think more than maybe the 1,000 might be, you know? So for 40, only 40 less than 40 cases of 17 million. I think they're barking up the wrong tree personally. I think there's a lot of politics. I believe BioNTech, you see Pfizer vaccine, their partner in that is a German company called BioNTech. And BioNTech is really the EU's only vaccine producer right now. And they're in partnership with Pfizer. Then you have AstraZeneca, which is the UK. The UK has just left the EU. So whereas a year ago, AstraZeneca's vaccine will also be classed as an EU vaccine, roll on a year after that, now we've left the EU, AstraZeneca belongs to only Britain, not the EU. So I believe there's a little bit of politics in this that we have to be very careful and pay attention to, because it makes no sense that while they're stopping and pausing it, they're also, with the other hand, criticizing AstraZeneca that they're not sending enough vaccines to the EU. That doesn't make any sense. So there's got to be some kind of understanding of this drama, my people. Okay, so let's scoot over to the second video now. Now, this is from the international perspective. This is the CNN report on the same story. And pay attention to it. This is how we get real news. This is the way you decipher what's true and what's not true. Because when you watch 6 reputable channels who are not related to each other, and they basically give you more or less the same information, tweaks here and there might be slightly different, perspectives might be slightly different, but the facts remain the same. So take a look at this second clip, which is a CNN report on the same story you just saw. Take a look.
Growing list of European countries pausing the rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine since, of course, that list has continued to grow. Now, we know that the company itself, AstraZeneca, says, look, 17 million doses have now been administered in the UK and in the EU, and there have been just over 30 issues of patients who may have gone on to develop blood clots. What the company says is that, look, this is what you'd find in the average population or less. But I think what began to change minds, because there had so far been a divide between those countries in Europe that were beginning to pause the rollout and those countries in Europe, like Germany and France, for instance, that were defending its continued use. Then they changed their minds yesterday. And I think what's behind that was not so much the question of the numbers of people who've begun to develop blood clots, but more this news from Denmark, that one of the people who had died was found to have unusual symptoms before she did. And I think that set off a bunch of alarm bells. Now, the European Medicines Agency says that the vaccine rollout should continue. It's continued to defend its use, but it is investigating, Laura. And until we get those results from the European regulatory body on Thursday, it's very difficult to see that this debate is going to go away.
Welcome back, guys. Now, what I get from that report is the same that I know is going on. I mean, these countries, there is so much doubt and hesitancy with all of the fake news and all of the, you know, the Trump era and what he did to the world with these things, that people are very skeptical. So countries are tending to be overly cautious. But you see what the EU is doing is going to come back to bite them in the arse, because they're being overly cautious, but they're doing it the wrong way. Like the French president, Macron, called the AstraZeneca vaccine quasi-effective. So, like, it's kind of effective, but not effective. You know, when your president is saying things like that, he wouldn't have said that about the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, because that's an EU, that's your home team. But then you're going to say about the UK AstraZeneca vaccine, well, because they're now out of the EU. So But this, when they keep doing this, it's only going to cause their own population from being from hesitating on taking the vaccine. So, I mean, I understand the caution, but again, you can hear it from that second report. It's internationally accepted that of 17 million doses put out there, put into people, less than 40 people have suffered from blood clots. Less than 40. So guys, this is about politics. So my next video clearly is going to show you the political side of the drama. Basically, the political side of the drama. Okay? So take a look at my next video now, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
I mean, the suggestion from some is there's a slice of politics involved in this as well. But it's a big issue, isn't it? And you know, you can understand why somebody from the UK watching those other countries making these decisions, that would affect maybe the choices that they're making.
Absolutely. And if we go back when the European Medicines Agency licensed the AstraZeneca vaccine, several countries, Germany, France included, said they wouldn't use it in older people because there wasn't evidence that it worked. They've had to reverse those decisions. And then you get Angela Merkel saying, well, the AstraZeneca, there seems to be an acceptance problem there. Well, very little surprise for that, given that President Macron at one point called it quasi-ineffective in older people. So the European countries have not helped themselves, and yet at the same time they've been bickering with AstraZeneca, saying they're not supplying enough doses. So this is really serious in the midst of a rising levels of cases and the threat from COVID in many of these countries. To stop immunization with one of their key vaccines at this point could potentially cost lives. And the clear advice from the World Health Organization, the European Medicines Agency, and the regulator here is that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which I had myself on Sunday, far outweigh any side effects.
Like I said earlier, the ordinary folk on the streets, the ordinary folk in their homes, your everyday person, they don't get the politics of this. And it's important that leaders are careful, because one wrong word hurts your own population, not just the person or the population you think, or the item you're trying to criticize. You're hurting your own population in the long run by playing politics with this. We saw what Trump did, playing politics with this. I mean, they were showing some clips the other day, and it reminded me, oh yeah, look at the sort of rubbish this guy was saying on the day after the election. This thing will be gone. Look where we are now. You know, so playing politics with these guys is just unwise, in my opinion. Guys, I'm going to come to onto my last video now. I think this is the most relevant video of all of them. After breaking all that down, this answers some questions in terms of the monitoring of people who've had it. I know there are many people who are waiting to see what happens a year later. There are people that will take the vaccine 1 year in. They're waiting just to see everything's all right, and then they'll take it. So this clip is important because it tells you what they're actually doing on monitoring people who have already taken, and on ongoing monitoring, observation of these people. So guys, take a look at my last video, and I'll see you guys on the other side to say my goodbyes.
What started it was the death of a woman in Austria. They'll be analysing those to see whether there could be some very, very rare side effect and rare form of blood clot that this could trigger. But all the evidence so far suggests that's not the case. And I think it's highly likely that after a temporary pause, that the vaccination programs will be restarted.
Can I ask you a question which is coming from a few viewers, not just today, but over the last few days as well, and in the weeks we've been talking about a vaccine? Is research maybe ongoing into the long-term effects of vaccines? How much of that is going on at the moment?
Oh, it's vast. Not only are all the people who were involved in the trials, something like more than 50,000 now worldwide, probably well over that in just the AstraZeneca trials alone. They're all followed up for at least a year. But then we have this post market surveillance, a yellow card scheme whereby anybody who gets the jab and has any side effects can report those. So they're followed up continually. So there's constant monitoring. And I've been looking through what they call the yellow card data released by the medicines regulator here. And the level of side effects from clots for the AstraZeneca vaccine is no higher than for the Pfizer vaccine.
Welcome back, guys. We're at the end of the show. I just want to recap on what I will take away from this show if I watched it. 3 things I'll take away from this is 1, of 17 million vaccines administered, only less than 40 have had blood clots. That's number 1. Number 2 is that the AstraZeneca, the blood clotting problems with the blood clotting problems with the AstraZeneca vaccine are the same with the Pfizer. So why the noise about it? That's what I don't get. If the experts are saying, well, it's about the same, so why is AstraZeneca being put on a higher level of this clotting? That's number 2 that I'll take away from it. And the third thing I'll take away from this, guys, is the fact that the same European Union countries who are pausing the AstraZeneca rollout are at the same time criticizing AstraZeneca, saying we want more of it, you're not sending enough. So those are the 3 key things to take away from these guys, right, that I will take away from this. So guys, we've come to the end of the show. Like I said, thanks again for watching. I hope this has helped. I hope it's been informative. If you like what we do, please like, share, and definitely don't watch without subscribing. And guys, I'll see you all on Friday for the last edition of the week. Take care, have a brilliant rest of the week, and I'll see you all Friday. Bye bye now.